Well, welcome friend to Painting with Heather, and yes, I am Heather, and today I'm in my home studio. I wanted to show you around and share with you 6 of my favourite things that really help my studio work well and ways that you can use them too. But also I'm going to show you something special at the end, a little bit of a tutorial on what I'm doing here, but let's go and have a look. So first of the 6 things is my floor stand for my iPad. Because I work with things really detailed, I need my iPad to be really close, as you can see here, right close to my painting, so that I'm not sort of looking like way over here and then way over here, and then by the time I get back to here, I've forgotten what I'm looking at. I need it to be really close. So that is, I couldn't live without that one. The second thing that I love, and one of my students came up with this idea, and everyone now, all my students have started to buy them all because they're amazing. You can look them up online. They're actually makeup bags. So this is where I store my paints, and I love it so much because it keeps everything in order. It's fantastic. I'm a bit of a messy paint tube doer. So as you can see here, it's a lovely bag. It's got straps on the side, and it's also got a handle on the front, so you can, I think it's even got, yeah, it does. On the bottom, you can actually put that, if you travel, you can actually put that on your case as well. It has a section at the top where we can actually put, palette pads and things like that, other documents, and also when you open it up, you can also see where all the brushes are as well, which is very cool. And then all these dividers, I've divided it up the way I like. So I put all of my red colours in here. I put all my blue colours in here. Then I have my greens in here, and then my yellows and my browns, and then my black and my white is also there as well. So it keeps everything in order, and I know where everything is, which is very cool. So whenever I'm doing a painting, I take out the colours I need. Just, maybe it's 4 or 5 colours, maybe more. But then I put them on my little table here, and then I don't have to keep rummaging around and finding the colours that I need. So this makeup case come painting case is just wonderful. I love it so much. So the third thing I really like having in my studio is a little table, so that I can put all the things I need, the paints I need, my palette on there. Everything's just easy, just the things I need for that particular painting. So for the one that I'm working on here, I'm only using 3 colours, so I just have the 3 colours on the table. I don't need to have my case set up or anything like that. The other reason I like having a table is because I like to care for my shoulders and my neck a lot. So I found that I was holding my arm up like this when I'm painting for like an hour at a time, and I'm like, oh gosh, that's getting tight in there. So what I've been starting to do now is getting my easel, my painting at the right level, putting my elbow on the table, getting the table really close and putting my elbow on it and relaxing my shoulder, so that I'm just working in that space and not moving too much. Because I'm working with photorealistic painting, and you don't move hugely quick. You can spend an hour or so, just in that one position, and then I can move the canvas down or up or around, and I put a towel over it so things don't roll off. I love it. It's a really useful thing to have in the studio. The fourth thing that I love having in my studio is a light, which I'm actually using for this video. It's a really cool light. You can actually dim the light down a little bit if you want to. It's on a stand. It's nice and sturdy. You can buy so many different lights anywhere, from your office shops and all sorts of places. So this one's great because it's fairly compact too. I love it. It's really helpful. One of my students showed me something the other day, which I love now, and I'm hooked on it, which is this little thing here. It is a little, well, it's a paint pot, I suppose, but I use it for a medium. So I use my medium because I work with oils. I put it in there. I was finding that when I was working on things, I'd have my little dish on here, and I'd be like, whoopsie, and whoop, it's on the floor. So now it's got a little clip underneath. See, it clips on there. Really cool, and it's airtight, so when I'm finished for the night, I can actually put that on, and it's still going to be nice and runny in the morning, because putting air to your medium, it clogs it up really quickly. So I end up having to wipe the dish out every day. So I love it so much. It just stays on there and I can really move around and get excited with my painting, and it won't fall on the floor, which I love. My last thing is music, podcasts, listening to something, even watching something on my computer nearby, but having that there, and also having, if I reach over here, if someone's in the room, I just plug in, put them into my ears, and off I go into another world. Last night I was listening to a podcast that went for nearly 2 hours. It was so interesting. I didn't have to look at my computer. I just had the music going and just enjoying painting as I go. I love having music and love having podcasts on while I'm working. It's really lovely. So there we are. We have the 6 things that I find are really helpful to have in my studio. So if you are interested in finding out all the things I have in my studio, things that you can have in your studio too, they're not hard things to find. I have an amazing resource. I put together a booklet that has everything that I can think of that's in the studio. All the coloured paints that I use, the brushes I use, the palettes, the easels, the canvases, what canvases you can use, all sorts of things. But please have a look at the download. It's at paintingwithheather.com/first step. paintingwithheather.com/first step. It's the first step in your painting journey, or first step in understanding more deeply all of the things that you can have in your studio, which are similar to mine. You might find, and I'm sure you will find, lots of other things that I don't have. So everything that you see in the document I have in this studio here, you might like to find other things that will suit you. I really have just been blundering along myself, trying to find things myself, looking around for different brushes and different paints and getting ideas. But most of it I'm just stumbled across myself. So you can do it too, but I thought it'd be really helpful so you don't have to stumble as much as I did and experiment as much as I did. You can use the document that is linked below so that you can easily find all the things you need to get you going, because I want you to get into your painting and not let all of the resource be something that stops you from doing that. So the last thing, which was a little bonus I was going to show you, was a little bit about this painting here. So I'm going to sort of reset everything up so that I can sit closer to my canvas and show you some of the little hints of the way that I've been working on that piece. Let's have a look. All right, well, this is a little bonus I thought I'd put at the end of this video just to show you a bit about what I'm working on at the moment and explain a little bit about that. I have had a number of students working on things that are similar but not, like hair on animals and birds and feathers and things that sort of had lots of detail. So I thought I'd share with you the way and the process that I go through to actually do that and to make it look real. So what I like to do is actually think about, obviously with this I have only 2 colours, although I use 3 colours. So Payne's Grey, Titanium White and Burnt Umber. So they're the 3 colours that I'm using with this. Why am I using a bit of Burnt Umber? Because Payne's Grey tends to be fairly blue and fairly cold, and I want it to feel a little warmer. So you can't actually tell that there's brown in there. Maybe if you examine it with a microscope or something, you might. But they're the colours I use. But what I'm doing here, so this is the piece that I'm working on. So it's some hands throwing some water. So I'm working on this piece here that has a lot of ridges in the hand. And trying to work out how to do that. So my process is thinking about what is the colour I mostly see and what is the colour underneath. So if you're doing an animal, you want to think about what you can see underneath. So if there's like a dark brown, if it's a dog's hair, you want to sort of put that colour on first. So that's what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you a little bit of it here. So I'll start working on this square here. A little tricky with the angle that I'm working on, but it should be fine. Normally I'll have this really close over here so I can see easier. Like I was mentioning earlier, this iPad is really great to have close so that you're not moving your head like way over here and then way over here. Let me just work out which square we're in. Those of you that don't know much about what the way I work is, and any photorealistic artist, unless they're super crazy talented and they can do it without any grids, but not many of us can, is we actually put a grid on our image, so you can probably see the lines there. That's exactly the same as, or proportions as your canvas, and then you paint from there. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but I'll do a YouTube sometime about putting a grid on your picture. But it makes it so much easier to work with, and you just work with one square or one rectangle at a time, and you don't get overwhelmed by all of the rest of it. There's so many different ways you can paint, and people love different techniques. I've got a massive following of people who love this technique, and it's mostly because it slows your mind down, it helps you relax, it helps you be calm. There's just so many testimonials. I'll put a link below as well to do with testimonials of people that have found it so helpful. Anyway, that's another story too. All right, so let's go back down and find, I'm going to try and find this square here. So it'll be this square here. All right, so I'm going to put it close to the edge so I know which one it is. So what I've worked out, because I've been doing this for a little while now, is, you know, what color I need to do in that background. So it's darker over here. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see that it's a little bit bright because of the screen, you know, resolution. But this color here is a little bit lighter. So I'm just going to mix up, grab some white and a bit of black, a bit of medium, and there is a bit of brown in there too. I've already mixed up the browns with the black so that I don't have to mix that up at all. All right, so I'm just mixing up like a mid color. I'll make it a little bit darker because I think that was a bit too light. All right, so then I'm going to put some of that on. I'll just try it out first, and it's way too light, obviously. I was right when I first mixed it. All right, let's get some more black in there. All right, that's a lot better. I'm just going to wipe that off with my paper towel because it's just going to be really hard to get rid of all that light if I keep that on there. Just rub it out, which you can do with oils because they stay wet for so long. All right, so I'm just going to come in with this colour here. It's sort of like a mid-tone between the highlights and the really dark patches. The area that I'm working on isn't quite as detailed as some of the rest of that, which is it's quite easy, or a lot easier. When I actually paint, I don't keep to the exact line. Some people that do this might do that, but I don't, because I don't want to come back and have to try and get rid of a definite line. So I'm always sort of extending the paint past the grid mark. But if I get lost, I actually put a little dot, white dot, where my grid is so that I can just focus in, because that's the key with this. If you get too, you know, start thinking too big, you lose your detail. All right, so we've put that in. This is a really dark line here, which I haven't put paint in, but I just want to show you a bit of what's going on in here. So I've sort of got that on, and I've sort of going in the direction that I can see that it needs to go. So now I'm sort of looking in here, and again, it's a bit hard for you to see, but I'll enlarge it up so maybe you can. There is some darker and some lighter areas. I don't really want to go much darker than what's already there, so I'm actually going to just do the lighter parts. All right, so let's get a bit of a lighter colour, just adding a bit more white to my brush. And looking at this now, and I like to have the grid about the same size as what I'm working on here. So you don't want to have it too small because you can't see the detail. You don't want to have it too big because then you will start to do more detail than you really need to. All right, so let's get it in like that. Okay, so now I can see there's some lighter lines coming through here. I'm not worrying about detail right now. I'm just getting, and this is what I wanted to show you, was just get something on for now. You're going to play around with it later. So I'm just looking at where the lines are and how that all works. So this has got another one coming in here, like a light. All right, so we put these in, and now I'm just bringing in some of the lighter lines because a lot of the color is, it's not really black in between. It's more of a dark gray. So I'm just going to bring in some more light lines in here. Occasionally I'll come in with it too bright, but that's okay. I'll play with that and fix it up in a minute. So just coming in with some more of that paint. And I haven't got a lot of paint on my brush at all. I'm just sort of wiping off a fair bit of the paint just on my palette, just sort of wiping off it because I only want a little hint of colour, a little hint of the white. I'm just going over that because it's wet. I'm going over it and just blending it in. Blending that in, so toning that back a bit now. So you can see that's already starting to look like there's ridges there. All right, and I think it's a little bit lighter up here too. All right. Now, as you can see, probably it's a bit hard to see, but you know, there's not just straight lines. So we're looking at, oh, there's a little bit of a brighter spot here and a brighter spot here, and I just sort of dab in. So, and then we're just looking at where everything else is. There's another line coming through here. So I'm putting all of that in. And now there's lots of little dotty things happening in amongst all of this. So I'm just going to bring in a bit of that. I need a bit more of that light colour. So we're building it up and really only using, I often will only, when I'm doing something like this, think of it in 3 stages. One is the underneath colour. The second is usually the next lightest colour. So it might be, if it's a dog, it might be the brown is right underneath. The next colour might be like a light brown, and the highlights will be maybe almost white. So sort of three, because our eye doesn't need to see much more than that. We don't need to get that detailed. And we don't want to be here forever and ever. Not that I'm ever in a rush to paint anything, and I don't want you to rush anything. But if we can make it simpler and make it happen quicker, then why not, you know? All right, so now I'm just going to go in and just sort of just break these lines up a little bit, pull them into the dark a little bit. Hopefully you can see a little bit of what I'm doing there, just flicking it in like that so that it gives a really nice texture. So I examine this and I look at, well, what's going on? Okay, it's got little white bits here and there, so and I'm also going to go a little bit lighter because it has got some whiter bits here and there, so I'm just going to flick some really light bits through as well. And that's really almost all you need to do. I might come back in a little while and just have a look at that, but you can see already that's working. I've still got to work on this bit here, bring in some dark. It's a really deep sort of crevice in the skin there. But that, I just wanted to explain to you how I work on that process and I stay within that square. That might take me half an hour or so to finish a square, or maybe even longer, as I'm just trying to get all those details. Probably not much longer than that. But yeah, I hope that was helpful. Please put a comment below if you found that really helpful. And if you're just starting with oils, I have a free resource for you. You can end up painting like this. Yes, it does take some time and it does take some skill, but you can start, absolutely start with finding all the resource that you need, which I have a free resource booklet. It's at paintingwithheather.com/first step. It's the first step, finding all the paints and the colours and the brushes and everything that I use, which a lot of people find really hard and they don't know where to start. So I want to make it easy for you to get to this point, to take time to do it. And it might not be photorealistically, it might be that you want to have some fun doing something abstract or more impressionist. But you can see all of the resource that I have, so have a look at that resource. Anyway, I'm going to head off now. Until next week, have a good week. I hope you are, and I'm going to get back to painting.